the human who married an alien girl to stop a war, the endless warrener, or for 6 long years. The war between humanity and the Thyran Dominion burned across the stars. Worlds once alive with oceans and forests were reduced to ash. Cities became shadows. Human fleets fought with stubbornness, improvising strategy with desperation. The Thyrans, tall, crystalline beings of elegance and cold precision, answered with discipline and overwhelming force. Neither side surrendered. Neither side relented. In the year 2429, the Human Council, weary and broken, sent a final delegation to the Dominion capital, Thyra Prime, a city of crystal spires that glittered like frozen fire beneath a pale sun. Inside the grand chamber, the High Regent Jalira rose. Her form glowed faintly blue, light refracted across her angular body. Her voice was like bells, cold and echoing. Jalira, no more false treaties. No more words that break like brittle glass. If you desire peace, then bind it in flesh. A union, marriage, blood and body joined. Then humanity will no longer be our enemy. You will be kin, narrator, the Human Council gasped. The chamber roared with shock. A marriage between species. Impossible, insulting. And yet silence stretched then. One man stepped forward. His name was Daniel Hayes, a diplomat, a widower, a man who had spent his life watching words collapse into war. His uniform was plain. His eyes were tired, but steady. Daniel, if marriage is the bridge between our peoples, then I will walk it. Narrator, the Thyran court erupted in whispers. The humans stared at him in disbelief. But in that single moment, the fate of 2 civilizations shifted. Act 2, the chosen bride in Arato. The bride chosen was Princess Althea Jalira, youngest daughter of the regent. When Daniel first saw her, she stood on a balcony of glass and fire. She was tall, luminous, her crystalline skin shimmering with hues of violet and blue, like dawn seen through ice. Her eyes were faceted like gemstones, cold yet strangely soft. Althea, you are the human. Daniel, yes. Daniel Hayes, ambassador. And your husband to-be, it seems. Narrator, she studied him, tilting her head. Althea, do you agree to this union freely? Daniel, freely. No, but willingly, yes. If it ends this war. Althea, strange. Among my people, freely and willingly are the same. Daniel, not for us. Sometimes humans choose the hard road, even when it hurts. That's what makes us who we are. Narrator, for the first time, her crystalline skin flickered faintly with light. Curiosity, perhaps even respect. Asterisk, the wedding of World Sonara Tour. The day of the union arrived, like a slow sunrise, over a battlefield too bright, too hopeful, almost painful to look at. On Thyra Prime, the grand cathedral of spires opened its crystalline ribs to the sky. Light poured through 1,000 facets and scattered across the assembled delegations. Human envoys in dark uniforms, Thyran nobles gleaming like living prisms, procession master, by decree of the High Regent, by the voice of the Council, by the will of the Strozatend. Narrator, music swelled not, strings or brass, but the soft harmonic hum of Thyran bodies resonating together, the air thrumming like a choir inside a bell. Daniel stood beneath an arch of braided light cables. He wore a simple dark suit, a white band at his wrist, Earth's symbol of vows. His palms were steady. His breathing was not. Daniel in a low, steady haze. Step 1, be the bridge. Narrator. The cathedral hushed as Princess Althea entered. She walked down the aisle alone, a waterfall of pale hues rippling across her crystalline skin. Topaz at the collarbones, moonlit silver along her arms, a faint rose at the cheeks that was not paint. Each step set the floor singing, glass on glass, a music of promise and danger, murmuring thurans overlapping, soft, the human looks. Ordinary things endure. Will this stop the fleets, or break us both? Narrator. The regent watched from a high balcony, impassive and bright, a crown of facets catching the sun. Human admirals watched with the rigid faces of people who meet hope as they meet artillery professionally, with suspicion. OFFICINT resonant. Ceremonial Ambassador Daniel Hayes of Earth, Princess Althea Jalira of Thyra, step forward. Narrator. They did. Close enough now to see breath, the fog of it brief and fragile in the cool cathedral air. Daniel bowed his head. Althea inclined hers. Officiant, to peoples long at war, seek kinship not by blade, but by bond. Do you accept this covenant as your will? Daniel firm, I do. Officiant, Princess. ALTHE, clear, measured. I do. Narrator. A tremor ran through the hall. A sound like distant rain billions, watching through relays across 1,000 worlds. Some cheering, some cursing, most simply quiet. On the dais, a ceremonial device unfurled like a flower, 2 rings of transparent crystal. Delicate as frost, heavy as history. Officiant, join hands. Narrator. Daniel extended his hand. Althea extended hers. Human flesh met cool facet. The rings floated between their palms, descending with a whisper, sliding into place, one around his finger, one around hers. The light inside the bands flickered once, then steadied, linked, officiant, by vow and witness, by the covenant of resonance. Let war be stilled and kinship begun. Narrator. The quietus sang a single, clear tone that seemed to pass through bone and memory alike. Daniel leaned closer, his voice private beneath. The roar of history, Daniel gentle. You don't have to pretend, Althea soft, nor do you, Daniel Denlets. Try, ALTHEA, a flicker of warmth. Let us try, Narrator. They turned to face the worlds. The cathedral exploded in light. Cutaway human newsfeed anchor flat, urgent, breaking. The union is complete. I repeat, the union is complete. Cutaway Theron broadcaster chiming. The bridge stands. The bridge stands. Narrator. Outside, the fleets held their breath. Asterisk. A house divided. Narratio. A peace is not a switch. It is a door that must be opened every morning. In the weeks after the wedding, the capital sparkled with ceremonies and speeches. Then the lights dimmed, and the work began. Scene, royal apartments. Night. Narrator. Their shared chambers overlooked a garden of glass-leaved trees that whispered in the wind. The air inside smelled faintly of mineral and rain. Daniel learned the locks. Althea learned the human habit of knocking anyway. Daniel, setting a small cooker on the table. Okay, tonight, something simple. Bread, stew, a little spice. Althea studying the pot. You heat the ingredients together. As if forging alloy. Daniel smiles. Cooking is diplomacy for flavors. You negotiate the heat until everyone agrees. Althea head tilt, amused. I see. And if the flavors refuse compromise? Daniel, then you start again. Or you add salt. Narrator, he passed her a small piece of bread still warm, the crust cracking softly. She pinched it delicately, as if it might cut her. She tasted. A wash of gold moved across her chest surprise. Althea quietly, it is. Humble, Daniel, and good. Althea, after a beat, and good. Narrator, later, she stood beside the window and sang. Lumen verse, the art of the Dominion. The sound built inside her crystalline body and flowed out, filling the room with layered overtones. It wasn't melody as humans knew it. It was architecture arches of sound. Daniel, soft awe. It feels like standing under the stars at a mountain pass. Althea, almost shy, we sing to remember the shape of ourselves. Even rock forgets, if left to silence. Narrator, he learned her rituals. She learned his mess. He left books on the table, open and face down, to keep his place. She righted them carefully, spines aligned. A soft crease of disapproval brightening her collar. Althea gently. Your stories do not deserve to be pressed into the table. Daniel apologetic. You're right. Old habits. Narrator, they argued once about windows. He wanted them open to hear the distant city hum. She preferred them sealed, to keep temperature and resonance perfect. Daniel, frustrated. I need noise to think. Althea, even. I need stillness to stand. Narrator, they compromised. One window cracked, one sealed. A treaty in miniature. Scene, council chamber, Dana Rota. Outside their chambers, daggers grew under smiles. The Dominion Council convened. Hardliners glittered brighter than usual, their facets sharp with hunger. Councillor Verix, cold. Your Highness, the Union weakens us. The human fleets linger. Their admiral's posture. Break this charade. Althea, calm, resolute. The fleets are quiet because we are quiet. The bridge holds because we stand upon it. Councillor Seren Acid, you are not standing. You are leaning. Narrator. Daniel sat at the table, hands folded, listening, learning the music of enemies. He answered only when needed. Daniel measured. The treaty is not surrender. It is survival. Ports open. Trade flows. Children eat. Varix mocking. Ah, the human obsession with children. As if offspring justify cowardice. Althea, voice cooling, light hardening. Mind your words. Narrator, the regent lifted one hand. The room stilled. Zha, Lyra, regal, distant. The union is law. The treaty is law. Yet law means little without belief. Narrator, belief. Always the missing instrument in a choir of policy, seen human newsfeed split. Screenincher, one skeptical. Ambassador Hayes, hero or hostage. Polling remains polarized. Anchor to snide. Wedding cake today, surrender tomorrow. Narrator, Daniel did not watch the clips. He knew the tone too well. Instead, he cooked. Then he worked. Scene, private study, night narrator. Maps covered the wall, trade routes, refugee corridors, zones of quiet and zones where quiet would not hold. Althea entered without knocking, then remembered, and tapped the door twice. Daniel looked up. Daniel, tired smile, still awake. Althea, Still learning. Narrator, she crossed to the maps. Eyes tracing lines with the focus of a surveyor measuring fault. Lines, Althea soft. You chart people like rivers. Daniel shrugs. Rivers. Flood if you don't give them somewhere to go. Althea. My people chart resonance. Where a structure will sing and where it will shatter. Daniel, meeting her gaze. Then help me. Tell me where this will sing. Narrator. They worked until the pale sun lifted its first blade over the spires. Scene. Balcony Donnerita. Fog lay on the city like a dream that forgot to leave. Daniel poured 2 cups of bitter human coffee from a travel press he'd smuggled through customs with diplomatic immunity. Daniel offering cup, careful. It's aggressively honest. ALTHEA. Accepting, curious. Honesty with heat. Sips. A flicker of amber at the throat, it tastes like your music. Daniel smiles, rude, and then somehow comforting. Althea allowing a hint of humor, loud, and then necessary. Narrator, she set the cup down, looked out over the waking city, and allowed herself a quiet truth. Althea low, I did not expect you. Daniel, after a long breath, neither did I. Seen Thyron Academy after Naretta to strengthen the treaty. They visited places where belief could be grown like vines on a trellis. At the Academy of Structures, Althea addressed rows of young theorists. Daniel stood to one side, hands behind his back, Althea clear. Teaching tone, strength is not only the capacity to bear weight, it is also the capacity to flex and survive. A bridge to rigid shatters under wind. A bridge that yields in as narrator. Daniel added a human story old. Simple. Daniel warm. On earth we plant trees along riverbanks to hold the soil when the water rises. Roots grip. Branches bend. The bank survives. Academy student hushed. Roots and branches. Narrator, an idea took seed. The union not as ornament, but as engineering. Scene. Market Square, evening narrator. They walked without guards for 10 careful minutes, surrounded by music and metalwork, by foods that smelled like minerals made sweet. A merchant set out a tray, merchant tentative for the union. No charge. Daniel gentle refusal. We pay. ALTHEA. Echoing, firm. We pay. Narrator. Coin and crystal exchanged palms. Watching eyes softened. Genesis of trust is often just a fair transaction seen by many. Scene. Private apartments. NIGHT. Later narrator. The quiet after a long day can be louder than drums. Daniel unbuttoned his collar. Althea dimmed her body's glow, the room settling into a violet hush. Daniel careful, you were. Brave today, Althea even. I was studied today. Daniel half smile. Same thing, some days. Narrator, she regarded him, and something eased across her face. Althea softer, human. Daniel, when you said willing but not free, I thought it was contradiction. Now I think it is devotion. Daniel, quiet. Maybe it's both. Althea, will you teach me your contradictions? Daniel nods. If you teach me your resonance. Narrator, a treaty in motion, written not only in ink and crystal, but in the small vows exchanged at midnight. Scene council subchamber, the next wick narrator. Backlash, sharpened. It always does, when something begins to work. A message appeared on a public pillar, lattice of fractured glass, arranged in a symbol Daniel didn't know, but Althea did. Althea, cold, hardliner mark. A warning, Daniel, to us. Althea, to me. For stepping off the pedestal, narrator. He reached out by reflex, then paused, not sure if touch was requested or permitted. She saw the hesitation and saved him from it. She touched his sleeve. Althea, steady. We proceed, narrator. They did, into the chamber of debate, where words cut and bled. Varix waited with a smile that WASN, single quotes T. Varix oily, Your Highness, Ambassador. How lovely to see you in harmony. Althea mild. You mistake harmony for silence, Counselor. Varix tilting. And you mistake a solo for a chorus. Narrator. Daniel, let them spar. Then he placed a data slab on the table. Charts of shipment flows. Casualty rates. Hospital intakes declining since the Union. Daniel, clear, pragmatic. When ports open, food moves. When food moves, children live. When children live, armies shrink. Varix dismissive, sentiment. Althea sharp, arithmetic. Narrator, the regent watched, unreadable. But when the meeting adjourned, she summoned them privately. Scene, regent's balcony. Twilight's halora measured. You hold, for now. The bridge stands, for now. But no, this stone remembers chisel marks. You will be struck again. Daniel, respectful. We intend to be struck together. Althea, without looking away from the horizon. And to ring true. Narrator Jalira's light brightened a fraction the Thyron equivalent of amusement. Or perhaps approval withheld. Jalira, see that you do. Narrator, the pale sun dropped. The city became a constellation of living stars. Scene, private chambers, night end of act. Narrator. Daniel lay awake, listening to a civilization hum through the window, crack he'd won in an argument. Althea sang, very softly, almost the idea of a song rather than the sound of one. The notes etched themselves into the dark like a promise. Daniel, inner. Tired, hopeful. Step 2, stay the bridge. Althea, inner. A whisper of thought, stone can learn to bend. Narrator, outside. Somewhere in the shadowed corridors of power. Glass cracked a tiny sound, the first fault line. Inside, 2 people slept on either side of a treaty, closer than either would have believed. The growing Bondine, Arato, or months past. What had begun as politics began to shift into something human, something fragile, something real. In the palace gardens, Daniel and Althea walked among glass-leaved trees. He pointed to the constellations he carried from Earth. Daniel, every star has a story where I come from. Heroes, monsters, lovers all mapped in the sky. Althea, quiet, fascinated. We saw only waypoints, navigation. You make myths of light. Narrator, that night, she asked to hear a human myth. Daniel spoke of Orion the hunter, of loss and pursuit. She sang the Luminverse echo of it. For the first time, their cultures harmonized. The assassination attempting aroused tense, but peace has enemies at a grand feast. A chalice was placed in Daniel's hands. Wine shimmered dark, almost black. Althea's eyes caught the faint shimmer at its rim. Althea sharp, stop. Narrator, she struck it aside. Poison splashed across her arm. Cracks spread through her crystalline skin, glowing with searing light. She gasped, clutching the wound. Chaos, guards shouting, blades drawn. Daniel, furious, commanding, enough. You wanted a bridge, here it is. Kill me, it falls. Kill her, it falls too. But if we protect one another, even from our own, it stands. Narrator, the chamber fell into shocked silence. For the first time, the idea of the union was no longer performance, it was survival. That night, as healers tended her wound, Althea whispered to Daniel, Althea soft, vulnerable, you could have fled. Why stay? Daniel, gentle, I married you to stop a war, but I think I'm staying for you. Narrator, her crystal flickered warm, like a blush of light. The first confession days later, Althea came to him on the balcony, the city humming below. Althea hesitant. I do not know the human word for this. Devotion, risk, bond. But perhaps it is love. Daniel, smiling softly. Yes, that's the word. Narrator, and for the first time, she said it back. Althea whisper, then. I love, the breaking point in narrator, hardliners within the Dominion rose again, calling the Union a lie. Fleets stirred. Human admirals doubted. The bridge shook. Daniel and Althea stood before broadcasts spanning both species. Daniel, passionate, peace is not weakness. Love is not madness. It is the greatest strength humanity knows. Althea, resonant, proud, and I, a daughter of the Dominion, tell you this. Devotion is no weakness. It is survival. Narrator, across the galaxy, citizens listened. Some sneered, but others, farmers, miners, soldiers, mothers, hesitated. For the first time, hope felt possible. The true union in Aratua, years passed. The treaty held. The marriage endured. One day, in a quiet chamber, a cry echoed, their first child half human, half crystalline. Tiny hands of flesh and facets that shimmered like dawnlight. Althea held the child close, voice trembling. Althea, now our bridge has a heartbeat. Narrator, Daniel wept freely. For once, he did not hide it. Asterisk, the legacy in Arato slow, grand. Generations later, historians argued why the war ended. Some said exhaustion, others said politics. A few pointed to economics, but the people remembered a simpler story. A human man married an alien princess, and in choosing one another, they chose peace. The Thyran Dominion had mastered war. The Thyran Dominion had mastered empire, but only humanity taught them the most dangerous, powerful force in the universe. Pause.